Ren from Hallowed Be Thy Game, and today I'm going to share with you my most recent pickups. Let's check it out. Welcome back to a special episode of Hallowed Be Thy Game. Ren here, and I have some stuff to share with you. It's just a bunch of stuff that I've been picking up over the past couple months. I know we just recently had a pickups video, but I wanted to go ahead and spice things up and just kind of expand to not only just games, but kind of all things nerd culture. I'm into anime, manga, and obviously JRPGs and games. So I got a little bit of everything to share with you today. I want to thank you all so much for watching this. If you enjoy these types of videos, please let me know by liking and subscribing. It genuinely helps out the channel more than I can really say. But I would love to know, what's your favorite game genre? And are you into anime or manga? Let me know down in the comments. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in here. Now I'm going to start off a little bit different here today with my manga pickups. And I got a little bit of a weird one for you here today. I had no idea that Elden Ring had its own manga. And it is such a tonal shift from the game itself. You know, when you think of Miyazaki, Dark Souls, you think of these dark and gritty worlds. Here comes this Elden Ring manga. I've only picked up the first volume here. I honestly don't know if there's a bunch more, but it was kind of cheap on the shelf, and I was like, what the heck? I'm just fascinated by this. And it's pretty weird, I'm not gonna lie. It's tonally just feels like kind of taking Elden Ring and trying to give it some kind of anime tropes, which okay, I guess you get props for creativity, but I was kind of expecting a little bit darker protagonist and just kind of like a little bit more edgelord type feel to it. No, this is very tongue-in-cheek manga, and yeah, pretty weird. I can't necessarily recommend this to Elden Ring fans, but if you're in the need for something kind of wacky and off the wall, then heck, try it, I guess. Now, in my most recent video, I talked about Dandadan, and luckily this week, Dandadan Volume 5 came in, and I'm over the moon for it. I freaking love this series. I really hope it gets an anime adaptation, because I think it deserves it. So Dandadan, just give you a quick synopsis of the show. Essentially, a guy who really believes in aliens and a girl who is kind of a medium, believes in, you know, ghosts and paranormal stuff. They kind of team up together to fight some insanity. I can best liken this to, like, you know, watching History Channel, like Monster Quest, and dropping acid. It's just insanity. However, it's super funny, super creepy. I mean, extremely dark. Not for children. I'm going to be honest. I'm not necessarily proud of it, but a lot of the manga I'm into is definitely on the more adult, darker side. And yeah, and Dandadan is not ultra, it's not like a Gantz or a Berserk, but it's definitely on the darker end. I definitely would recommend this to somebody who's looking for just something off the wall, refreshing to read. Totally worth it. Now, on the back burner, I am slowly making my way through Alice in Borderland. Now, I kind of got into this series in a weird way. I got into the live action series on Netflix. I really loved it. Can't necessarily say I liked the most recent season. It's not bad, but it's not good, in my opinion. However, I'm loving the manga, and luckily it's different enough from the show that I can kind of separate the two. I don't typically do manga and anime, but there are some rare exceptions. I'm kind of new to manga. Over the past couple years, I've really kind of dove into manga. Alice in Borderland, it's a really awesome kind of games of high-stake games of death. A mysterious event happens, and then everybody's thrown into this. It almost feels like a parallel universe. I don't want to give anything away here. And there'll be these games of life and death, and everything follows a card suit. So you'll enter a building, and it'll randomly say, like, hey, this challenge is like a 2 of clubs, and there'll be a certain type of challenge that's associated with that suit. It's high stakes, very intense manga. I love it. This is one of my favorites out right now, and I highly recommend it to anyone who's maybe a fan of like Saw or things like that. But me personally, I like the first couple Saw movies, but I really fell out of the series. It's just a quality story. Highly recommend. Now, I am a long-time World of Warcraft player from way back when. I've walked away, Anyways, I still love the old lore of the game. I don't really like where it's gone here recently in the past like 5 years or so. However, I did pick up the Warcraft Sunwell Trilogy Volume 1 and also Warcraft Legends. Now, those are kind of like, to my knowledge, ancillary stories, but the Sunwell Trilogy follows Kalecgos, and I really like those characters. I won't get into detail about that because World of Warcraft lore is pretty vast. I'm not saying it's good, but there's just a lot of it, and it would take a while to explain. But I do like that there's kind of like anime, manga-ish stories for World of Warcraft, because heck, you know, I love it, and yeah. So I'm hopeful that I'm going to enjoy this trilogy. I'm going to probably end up finishing at least some of these older manga entries for it. On a whim, I saw Danganronpa Volume 1 and 2 were pretty doggone cheap at my local bookstore, and I was like, what the heck? I'm still kind of I'm brand spanking new to the series. I have a couple of games I keep pushing back on the back burner. I know that's heresy to fans. Not for any reason. They look great to me. I think and know I'll enjoy them. I just need to get to it. But I'll report back on what I think of this series. I know there are some diehard fans for it. I'm very hopeful to like Danganronpa, and yeah, are there any fans? Let me know in the comments. I am, however, a psychotic hardcore fan of Gantz. I'm not going to get in extremely like deep or philosophical on the show, but a lot of people have kind of hopped in my comments every time I've talked about Gantz and say, well, you know, it's just kind of a trash, dirty smut anime, or it's this or it's that. It's way too violent. It's way too offensive. Look, I'm not going to get into any of that. However, I will say this. There's something about how Hiroya Oku tells his stories to where he does take characters who may be rough around the edges, extremely like dark anti-heroes, and thrust them into these dark, vicious, cruel, nihilistic, unforgiving worlds. Horrible things happen in life. Things that just absolutely can tear you down, break you, just eviscerate you from the inside out if you'll let them. And there's something about how he tells his stories and shows like a humanity that I don't feel a lot truly can harness that type of raw, visceral emotion of how people can overcome some of the most horrendous things that can happen in your life. That level of passion that he can capture in his stories is so it just locks me in. And Gantz is, without a doubt, top 3 favorite manga for me. And I just finished out the 12th volume for the Gantz Omnibuses. I think they're beautiful. Just huge kudos to Dark Horse for running these. I wouldn't have been able to read them physically otherwise. Yeah, it's just fantastic. And on top of that, I had a holy grail pickup at my local bookstore, Gantz G. This is not like a highly beloved side story to Gantz. Not a lot of people talk about it. I mean, granted, I'm not in like a lot of manga forums and stuff, but just from YouTube, I don't see a lot of people talk about this. It's a 3-part side story. It could have used some more. I enjoyed it. I got invested in the characters. For people who don't know, Gantz is effectively recently deceased people are popping up in these rooms that are just devoid of any furniture, and there's these black orbs in there called Gantz, and they make people play the highest stakes video game you can imagine. They'll be outfitted with armor, weapons, and they'll be sent out to fight these horrendous, nightmarish, Lovecraftian monsters, and they'll be scored according to how many monsters maybe they take out. And if you score well enough, you could resurrect somebody, you could be freed, or you can upgrade your weapons. However, on top of that setting, there are some of the most intense character developments and just horrendous stories that can happen. I love this series. I will say that Gantz's ending was a little rushed. I kind of wished it had another volume or so to kind of flesh out the ending, but that's just because I love the character so much and I didn't want it to end. I love this series, but they're not something I just blindly recommend to anybody because there is some very horrific subject matter that can happen in these. It's definitely for an older audience and not just for everyone. Now moving on, I did pick up the Demon Slayer complete box set. I'm getting heavily into Demon Slayer and My Hero Academia. I did not expect myself to just fall heavily in love with kind of modern anime. However, I was talking with my brother, and you know, I'm more into manga and older anime, and he's definitely just been into anime. Like, I've been following his recommendations, and I've been loving it. And if anybody has more anime recommendations, please let me know. I'm caught up on Demon Slayer, My Hero Academia, and Vinland Saga, and I'm actually looking to pick up and read Vinland Saga because I don't want to wait just for the anime to come out. I'm head over heels for Vinland Saga. But I would love to know what your recommendations are for anime down in the comments. I'm currently making my way through Jujutsu Kaisen, but yeah, I'm enjoying it. But without further ado, we'll go ahead and move on to my video game pickups. Now, we have a PS3 pickup here. I don't often pick up a lot of PS3 games. However, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, I had this game so long ago. Through a series of unfortunate events, I don't have it anymore, but I've corrected that issue and I have it back in the collection. A lot of my anime and manga pickups and even some video game pickups came from Half Price Books. I don't typically shop there for games. However, if you're looking in the local area where I live, it's going to be Second and Charles or Half Price Books where I live. And I mean, but anyways, luckily we had some gift cards and they had some discounts going on. So I was able to pick up some games there, and mostly anime and manga, but I did pick up some Switch games. Now, I have mentioned in the past, my son and I have been playing a lot more games together, and we've been playing Mario Odyssey. I'll be honest, I'm kind of ashamed to admit it, I'm not really into 3D platformers, okay? However, where I was into Zelda heavily growing up, my son loves Mario and he loves Kirby, and I'm just kind of discovering a whole new joy of, playing the games he loves. And I will admit, Mario Odyssey, it's a beautiful, charming game. We have a blast playing it, as well as Kirby and the Forgotten Lands. I don't know which one of these he likes better. It kind of goes back and forth, but I would say on any given day, he probably would say Kirby. But yes. Now, I did pick up some games for myself, and I got Baten Kaitos Origins collections. I was late to the party on this one, but I'm happy I picked it up. I'm not going to try to guess what games might eventually be expensive, but this one just kind of reeks of going to be very expensive when the Switch is no longer the current console in the future. However, I've only ever played the original Baten Kaitos, so I'm excited to be able to play Origins and just kind of dive into that whole series. I did also pick up Akiba's Trip Undead and Undressed Director's Cut Day 1 Edition. I had forgotten to bring this one up in the previous pickups video, but I love this game. I played it originally on Vita, but I wanted to show some love and support. And it has such a cool little box collector's edition. But yeah, I highly recommend this. These Akiba's Trip games, they are absolute bonkers insanity, over-the-top fan service. But yeah, they're enjoyable. Now, I also did pick up Mato Anomalies, if I'm saying that correctly, for the PS5. This was on a mega cut discount, I believe through Amazon. The Switch one went so fast, but I was luckily able to snag $5 or $10 the copy for PS5. And yeah, I'm hyped to try this. I've heard good things. I haven't heard a lot of things about this game, so I'll be sure to report back my thoughts on it later. But I got also a very rare PSP pickup. I don't pick up a lot of PSP games anymore, but I was so happy to find out that Magna Carta had a port to the PSP that was Japan exclusive. I'm going to look and see if there's like a fan translation of this. I love Magna Carta, so I would be interested to see what it looked and ran like on the PSP. I don't know. If there's any interest in kind of weird Japanese translation games, let me know. I got a couple that I'd love to share, but I don't really know if people are interested in games that just didn't come out in the West. But I also picked up Grand Kingdom for the PS Vita. Big shout out to the Big Bridge over on Twitter. He let me know that this is one of his favorite games. I looked it up. I was like, holy cannoli, this game looks so cool. I'm excited to check this one out. I am absolutely hoping to report back on this one, maybe in the coming weeks. But yes, Grand Kingdom, extremely excited to have this one. I was able to get it for a pretty good price. Some PS Vita games are coming down, I think, as people are kind of moving on to other things to collect for. Some of the PS Vita games are cooling off just a little. But yeah, I'll report back my thoughts on Grand Kingdom. Now, I did want to mention, I am trying to get into the Full Metal Panic. I did tweet out that I found a pretty good deal on, I think it was the second run series of Full Metal Panic from Half Price Books, and I got a couple of very passionate fans letting me know very, very urgently not to start there. So I did find the first complete season on DVD, Blu-ray. So I'm looking to have kind of a Metal Panic marathon. And I've heard people love this series, and it looks beautiful. I'm a big sucker for this era of anime. And while I was out at my local bookstore, I saw that someone had turned in the first 3 volumes of the Full Metal Panic manga. So I'm looking forward to just kind of immersing myself in it, but it's a lot. So I'm going to be having a little bit of a couple of weeks where I'm not going to be looking for stuff to read. I got quite a bit of manga to catch up on. However, those are my most recent pickups. I would love to know if you guys are okay with me kind of expanding out and including more than just video game pickups. If so, I could probably make these a little bit more regular. Usually, you know, for video game pickups, I tend to wait till I have enough to make a pretty big video about. But yeah, anyways, just let me know. I hope you all enjoyed. I'm looking forward to maybe getting some anime or manga recommendations in the comments. But I want to thank you all so much for all the support on the channel here lately. It's truly humbling to me. Taking such a break, you know, being there for my family, it was amazing. But being able to come back and just pick up right where we left off has been very encouraging. So I want to thank you all from my family to yours. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you next time.